This star is one of the brightest stars in Monocertois and is the brightest star in the open cluster IC448. But yet, we don't know how far it is. Wait, what? Okay, but also, this star is like almost 2 times the surface temperature of our sun and 38 times the radius of the sun. But that's not all. To start our image analysis, we have the original image, which preserves the full detail but also noise of IC448. And on the right, we have the AI denoised image, which uses an in-app feature to remove background noise and filler from an image, meaning that the image looks a lot better. In this case, the AI denoised image looks so much better than the original image. The detail is much more present. Although there are some weird scaffolding lines on the edges of the image, the crisp bright spot in the center of IC448 is very clear in the AI denoised image. This spot is the star 13 Monocertois, which is located in IC448 and is the brightest star there. Now, of course, it is clear that IC448 contains all kinds of main sequence stars and non-main sequence stars, set in many different colors like white, orange, red, yellow, and more. By the way, that other bright spot is 14 Mon, not really going to be talked about in this video. Alright, but what else is there to know about this new star, 13 Mon? Well, it's a white supergiant star, meaning it's very hot, bright, and big, around 38 times the radius of the sun. It's also about negative 0.3 in terms of metallicity, meaning it's about 50% of the sun's iron to hydrogen ratio. It's also roughly 10,250 Kelvin for its surface temperature. Our sun's about half of that, about 5,772 Kelvin for the surface temperature. This star is also literally 16 million years old, so slightly older than your mom. Kidding, of course. And its apparent magnitude is about 4.498, making it just out of reach of the top 5 brightest stars in Monocertois. The star has an absolute magnitude of negative 4.8, which makes sense considering the star is an AO type star. By the way, spectral classes go from O, B, A, F, G, K to M for temperature, and numbers, the smaller the number, the hotter, for subcategories. And brightness classes, aka luminosity classes of IA, IB for supergiants, II for bigger and brighter giants, II for normal giants, IV for subgiants, and V for main sequence stars. This means 13 Mon is a white supergiant, one of the biggest and brightest. We're going to talk about it later. Anyway, the RA is about 6 hours, 32 minutes, and 54.22948 seconds, aka about 98.23 degrees. And it's moving about 1.68 milliarc seconds to the left per year. Oh yeah, and it also has a declination, just like literally every other space object in space to ever exist. Anyway, it's about 7 degrees, 19 arc minutes, 58.6942 arc seconds, aka about 7.32 degrees, changing by about 4.845 milliarc seconds down per year. By the way, the margins of error are about 0.127 and 0.137 respectively. Man, couldn't they just be the same? Anyway, rotation velocities vary, but it's about 10 to 20 kilometers per second. By the way, that's literally 5 to 10 times faster than the rotation of our sun, so damn. And this object is also moving away from us at about 12 to 14 kilometers per second. Don't ask why I said object instead of just saying star. Alright, Now to introduce the big mystery of today's object. It's that the distance. I mentioned distance earlier, and I said it was going to come back. And yeah, guys, I'm not a liar, so don't think I'm a liar. Well, yeah, that's the big mystery. So, 13 Mon is one of the brightest stars in the constellation Monocertois. Oh my god, the mispronunciation. Anyway, and the brightest in IC 448. Yet the distance measurements are wildly different. Some estimate as low as 1,500 light years and some as high as 4,000 light years. That's literally a gap of 2,500 light years. And it would take you about only like 50 million years to travel the distance in a standard rocket ship to cross 2,500 light years. So not too long. Some of the reasons for this include the fact that the parallax angle for this star is very small, and so it is measured wildly different, and thus a different distance is calculated because parallax is used to calculate distance. The margin of error is almost the same as the parallax angle, making it very confusing to work with. The environment, including the location in IC 448 and a layer of dust, add to this confusion. Now, there are some parallax angles calculated in the Symbiad, so 2.16 plus or minus 0.86, 1.2159 plus or minus 0.1111, 2.5625 plus or minus 0.4058, 6.6 plus or minus 5.1, clearly they made a mistake, and 0.83 plus or minus 0.46. While Symbiad measurements are not always going to be the exact same, most of the measurements should point to a clear answer and show outliers, but that is not the case here. So what's this final solution? Well, it's not even a full-on solution. It's literally an estimate. With our estimates with better technology, narrow the range down to 2,500 to 2,800 light years, aka 766 to 858 parsecs. This actually does line up with the second entry for parallax in Symbiad, and also lines up with a Symbiad distance measurement of 822.436 parsecs plus or minus 75.1482 parsecs. But wait, didn't I talk about that earlier? Obviously, I was clip farming you. Duh. Anyway, this is an estimate, but our best guess. In short, a lot of things in astronomy are still partially or fully unresolved, but we're learning a lot more over time. Alright, well that concludes this entire video. So, here are the sources I used. Here's an extra image I found. Alright, well that concludes this video. So, subscribe for more engaging astronomy videos. Also, don't ask why my voice suddenly got louder. Bye!